You know what's worse than being last place in a race? Being like fourth place. Because if you just tried a little harder, just barely, you would have beaten the guy in front of you and you could have been at least in the top 3. Sometimes losing so close to victory is 100 times worse than not even trying at all, and that's exactly how Cold War makes me feel. While it doesn't have the exaggerated swagger of a black teen, Call of Duty Cold War still manages to make you feel like a Cold War soldier. In all seriousness, Call of Duty Cold War felt so close to a good COD title but so far from a finished game. With the return of the true run and gun style gameplay that fans have been waiting so long for, yet not enough content to support this return, Cold War ends up feeling like a hamburger with lettuce as a bun. Or even better, a $60 game that was only worth $30 fucking dollars. As the glory days of COD seem so far as 2021 approaches, yet so close when we reminisce on the good times we used to have, it has been a long line of dick slaps for the die-hard COD fanboys as more and more useless titles are thrown into the market, and yet they continue to fund the cycle by pre-ordering these disappointments before even knowing how the game will actually play. And I won't deny that there were some pretty fun and good CODs in the past couple of years that really shed light and potential in the shitstorm we're caught up in. Call of Duty Cold War is just unfortunately shy of being a diamond in the rough.
More like a copper in the rough.
Right off the bat, I'll say I actually let myself soak up the gameplay for the past couple of days, letting myself reach Prestige 1 and playing a good amount of zombies as well as the campaign. I even played the beta and I was really enjoying the gunplay and feeling of this game as it brought back a sense of nostalgia from older CODs that I played on the PS3. And rather than rushing out a review on the first day of the release, I thought I'd sit back, enjoy the game, and why the fuck is everyone using the MP5? When entering the first couple of hours, you do what you usually do in a game, you play around, figure out the maps, slowly but surely get attachments, yada yada yada. That's fine for the first 2, maybe even 2.5 hours, sure, I'll give it that. But after that, this game is one of the most empty feeling Call of Duty multiplayers since Call of Duty Ghosts. Maybe it's because they really tried to bring back the older run and gun style multiplayer. It seems so familiar to the point I didn't even feel the need to adjust. They really just left you with little to no content to explore and grind for in this game. After basically level 35, you have almost all the guns in the game, except for this shit, which is not worth the grind whatsoever. But that doesn't even matter when you have the most overpowered and overused guns in the game to start off with, and all the guns that were higher levels that were really good are getting nerfed to the fucking ground. For example, the FAMAS, which makes leveling up to get that gun feel completely useless. No need to level up to get this shit 3-round SMG when you have your Lord and Savior right at your disposal as the first gun in the entire category. Oh, well you did, until they nerfed that shit to the ground too. Actually, you know what, fuck it. Let's nerf every single gun to the ground. That's a good idea. Rather than making other guns that are shit better, let's just make all the good guns bad so you all feel like fucking dog shit when you're playing against each other. But it's skill-based matchmaking, so that's good, right? No, it's not. And once you get all these guns, all the skins you can wrap them in are really, really, really ugly. I mean, a game that came out 8 years ago has better skins, let alone is a better game in general. I mean, comparing this to this is like comparing this to this. And while I'm used to shitty skins in about every FPS shooter in the market, what makes this such a drag is that your gun takes hours and hours and hours of gameplay to rank up. 55 levels of repetitive gameplay just to get all the attachments. It's like they knew that this game was half-assed, so the only way to stop players from finishing it too fast and going back to blowing smoke into their Xboxes was to make guns a bitch to level up, unless you no-life this game super hard. Even professionals like FaZe Jev are literally spending up to 8 to 15 hours on this game just to grind it out, and it's still not enough. But then you realize that this master plan wasn't actually foolproof, as you can just go into zombies and level up your guns 5 times faster. Like, what the fuck? Overall, this game doesn't have the rewards to back up playing a long time, and it doesn't keep my interest to keep playing at all. We all know when studios make games this big and incomplete, they just plan on filling the void with DLC weapons, DLC camos, and DLC weapon bundles, etc., until the game is completely unrecognizable after the first year it was released. Black Ops 3. But according to Vaughn, we should be thankful that we have a collection of strong-willed monkeys working for us to bring us this game, right? It's not like millions of people each paid you $60 of their hard-earned money to fucking buy your game. And there's still no ranked playlist, there's no 2v2 game mode that was brought in Modern Warfare that I really liked, there's no new content in general, but hey, chase the check I suppose. When you choose to revive a true fast-paced arcade-style gunplay that older CODs were loved for, you can't be picky-choosy on the aspects that you place into it. Modern CODs are designed differently, so if you try to go backwards but keep some of the same aspects, you just get a weird clusterfuck of a game, and that's exactly what Cold War is. For example, one thing that just felt really off was the maps in this game. Here are all the maps in the game, and now here are all the maps that you actually play, and here are the maps that are actually worse than cancer. And just today as I make this video, they added Nuketown back into the mix because, hey, if it ain't broke, let's put it in every fucking Call of Duty for the next decade. Now most of the maps are playable, and half of these maps are enjoyable, but 90% of the maps just feel too big, too open, and too complex for what Cold War was achieving with this type of gunplay. And if I get Miami one more fucking time, like bro, I swear to God, I would rather listen to 100 gex at gunpoint than play this shitty map again. And while that's true, adding Nuketown to this game feels too fucking crowded and chaotic. It's a game of who can chuck their grenades into the enemy spawn faster, and it's all due to the fact that Cold War's movement is so much faster than the original Black Ops movement. I can run from my spawn to the enemy spawn in literally 5 seconds, making this feel like more of an aim practice mode than a real match. So what I'm trying to get at is that if they're going to add more maps in the future, they should add maps that are smaller than the first ones that came out with the game, but bigger than this shit. Like, come on, man. The campaign is mid. You thought playing with a weapon for 5 hours just to get a couple attachments was a waste of time? Try playing this campaign and I'm sure you'll rethink what your definition of a waste of time truly is. Now visually speaking, this game is pretty nice, but then you realize that this is the first COD to be released at the time of the next generation that is planning on pushing 4K, 120 frame gameplay with ray tracing. Now this COD looks pretty average, especially compared to Modern Warfare. I personally found that games that strive to be too realistic looking often tend to be very bland. Once something looks kinda how it looks like in real life, it takes away from the wow factor from a computer generated scene that could only exist from a computer generated scene. For example, Cyberpunk's Techno World seems to really incorporate the technology we have and allow it to push graphics farther than we've ever seen it before. While I'm not saying that the graphics are bad by any means, they could have done a lot better, especially for one of the first titles of the PS5 and Xbox Series X. And not only that, I actually have a friend who plays on the PS4 and literally has to put a bag of ice over it because Cold War makes it overheat in like half an hour. This would make sense if the graphics looked like Uncharted 4, but they really just look like average graphics, especially for a game of this size. Now based off raw gameplay alone, how the game plays, how it feels, how much fun I have playing it, this is what makes me so annoyed about the game, because I really do like the way it plays. I personally didn't play too much of Modern Warfare just because I was really into Siege at the time, but this game really gives me vibes of older Call of Duties I used to play as a kid. When COD fans wished for older types of games when titles like Advanced Warfare and Black Ops 3 were being released, it wasn't just the boots on the ground gameplay that we missed, it was the quick-paced, small map, Call of Duty quote-unquote gameplay that was missing, and when they added CODs like World War II and Modern Warfare with bigger maps and much more strategical ways of playing, it wasn't bad at all, but it just didn't feel like Call of Duty, to me anyways. This Call of Duty reminds me of the run and gun fun we missed, but they just executed it very poorly. Time to kill is a little longer, but it makes the game feel a bit more balanced at longer ranges. There's a nicer difference between subs and assault rifles, that is before they nerf all of them to the ground. The movement feels a lot more lightweight and fun compared to Modern Warfare. Sliding is so nice and smooth, and the equipment is really meant to complement the gunfights rather than, you know. Overall, I think that they hit multiplayer right on the dot with this one. It just doesn't have enough content to make the multiplayer not repetitive after putting hours and hours of gameplay into it. The one part that actually feels somewhat thought through has to be zombies. Now, it ain't no transit, but it's definitely fun to play. Nice little Easter eggs just like usual, and I'm really hoping for more maps to be added into the future. I never really played zombies in a serious way. I always thought making it past round 20 with some friends was fun enough, so I'm not going to act like I know anything about how zombies should be, but I'll just leave it at that. Now before I see it in the comments, I understand that COVID could have been the reasoning behind the somewhat empty feeling game, and I'll just give them the benefit of the doubt that that is why it feels the way it does. And while it seemed like I bitched a lot, I did truly enjoy this COD in the past couple of days more than I have enjoyed any of the recent CODs in a long time. But keep in mind, I didn't play a lot of Modern Warfare, so maybe if I did, this game would have been a lot worse in comparison. It seems like a lot of you guys are just going back to Modern Warfare because honestly the community doesn't seem to like Cold War. And that makes a lot of sense with a lot of the things that I just mentioned, and hopefully they'll be able to fix it up either through DLC or patches. But until then, honestly, this game has got quite boring and I'm kind of tired of it. But it was fun while it was fun, if that makes any sense. Overall, this game was just shy of feeling somewhat completed, and the only thing that keeps me wanting to come back is the fact that I can still talk to the enemy team at the end of the game. Bitch, you suck my fucking dick, you suck my fucking dick, bitch, suck my